John, first off, is everyone fit for next Sunday?
Yeah, it's good. Obviously, looking forward to a cup final. Injuries clear up very quickly, which is good. And yeah, so we have a few niggles and stuff which we've had for a couple of weeks, but you know, with the run into Sunday, I presume that most lads will be fit for that.
Carl Shepherd hasn't played in a few weeks. Would you be confident he'd make it?
Yeah, it's one of those ones we're monitoring Carl, and obviously he had a phenomenal semi-final. So you know, he's back in training, so we give him every chance.
How's the mood in the camp been? I mean, like, you won the last couple of games, so I'd imagine you're going into the game on a high.
Yeah, well, the mood has been good, and to be fair to the boys, it's always been good. And you know, why wouldn't it be going to the Diva, the cup final? You know, 4th year in a row. It's been fantastic. So yeah, there's a buzz about the boys, but if there wasn't to be something wrong, so you know, we're all looking forward to that.
Bookmakers have Dundalk heavy favourites. Do you like the underdogs tag? Do you think it suits you going into a game like this?
It doesn't really matter. You know, I suppose ultimately we've been the underdogs for the last 3 years. So, you know, I suppose, look, we've won the last 2, so it hasn't affected us. You know, you'd expect that, you know, with the fact that they won the league. So, you know, at the same time, you know, we could create our own history, being the first team in Cork ever to win 3 in a row. So, you know, we're preparing, you know, so that obviously we can win the game. So, you know, so being underdogs doesn't really bother us.
Is there more pressure on you this year going up to get something out of your season than there was last year going to clinch the double, do you think?
No, I don't think so at all. I think you know, this season again has been a phenomenal season. You know, when you consider the turnaround of the players that we've had from last year's squad to this year's again, you know, to lose, you know, 7-8 players from last year, 5 or 6 year starting team, you know, who'd been part of the league campaign. You know, that's just the way League of Ireland is. So, you know, we've rebuilt again, and it's a testament and credit to this team that, you know, they qualify for Europe. Obviously, starting the year, there's a lot of plans of a lot of teams that invested heavily, and it was going to be a much stronger challenge. But again, you know, I think we had qualified for Europe with 7 games to go. Obviously, in the league, we lost a bit of form at the wrong time. That can happen, and our team hadn't been as settled as you would like it. But we're back in the cup final, and you know, so we were under huge pressure the first year to win a cup. When Johnny got the winner, we were under huge pressure last year to try and win a double. And you know, you'd love to win the cup, but you know, still these guys have been phenomenal this year, qualifying for Europe, getting back to a cup final. So you know, like, and considering we're a fans-owned club and the way the club is run, you know, we've been boxing way ahead of ourselves over the last number of years, and financially we're not in the running with a number of other clubs. But the team have done massive. The players have been phenomenal. The management worked hard. So, but it's a great out for the supporters, and it would be fantastic if we could win the cup. But going to any cup final, you're under pressure because the pressure is from within, because you want to win.
John, Neil Doyle is the referee on Sunday. I'm talking to Cork City fans during the week. They're not massively happy about that. I mean, what's your thoughts on his appointment?
Well, being honest, I don't get involved with referees. I think the quality of the standard referees in our league is very good, and you know, I'm sure Neil will have a good game.
That being said, like, he missed a blatant penalty when Graham Cummins was fouled by Graham Gartland a couple of weeks back. Would that be a concern heading into Sunday's game?
I know. I think, look, anyone can make a mistake, but you know, the most important thing, if you look at the last couple of years and look at the finals, Paul McLaughlin and Rob Rogers had 2 fantastic games. There wasn't one mention about the referees because they had a 10 out of 10 performance, and I'm sure Neil will want to go into Sunday's game, and after the game that basically the talk is about the match, you know, and a great game between the 2 teams. So from that point of view, you know, I'm sure that's what he'll want, and if that's the case, he'll have a 10 out of 10. And you know, as I keep saying, referees in our league are good and are excellent, and I'd expect you know, Neil will have a good game again on Sunday.
John, most of the finals, the 3 finals, obviously finished 0-0 after 90 minutes. There seem to be cagey affairs. Do you think that's like because there's so much at stake on the day to win the trophy, or is it just that the 2 teams are so strong, cancel each other out?
Yeah, well, I think there were different type of games. You know, I think 2-15 was a game where probably, you know, from an attacking point of view, we probably weren't as strong as we have been since, and that game was probably Dundalk dominated. The next game, our first year we won it, was more of a 50-50 game possession wise. There wasn't much, and I think Dundalk had more possession. Chances wise were limited, but last game, the year's game, was much more open. I think in terms of first half of last year, we were really good. Certainly had a number of chances to go ahead in the first half. Second half they came back into it, but it's just been the way it is, I suppose. Both defences have defended really well, the keepers have played really well, and if you're a gambler, you possibly could say that could happen again this year, but who knows? Games are different. An early goal could change the whole complexion of the game. But the last number of years, they have been tight, but I suppose the teams have been just so even as well, Trevor. That's just the way it has been between the clubs.
Yeah, the three matches this year against them, John, like looking back at the three matches, what should we be looking at where you could get at them, where hurt them? Have you identified like kind of areas where you think you've your best chance against them?
Yeah, obviously, there are areas where we know that they're vulnerable on, but at the same time we've played exceptionally well ourselves, and that's part and parcel of it. And in a cup final day, everyone must, when they cross the line, perform to their best, and you have to take into account it's an emotional day. Families are involved, nerves can play a huge part, so you need to be able to handle that and manage that, and thankfully over the last couple of years we have been able to do that. And so from that point of view, obviously we're looking at areas where we think we can exploit some of their weaknesses.
To win it again, John, obviously it'd be great for a number of reasons, but that consistency, it's been good. I don't know, for a few years you've won a trophy every year, the last couple of years, like to win another trophy of that consistency. And you look at the league, I suppose, as well. In the end, you 77 points, one more than last year. I know there's a few games played more this year, but thereabouts, like, I suppose, in that respect.
Yeah, sure, the consistency within the club from the start, in the last 5 years has been, you must remember the club was 6-7 when we took over. Crowds were down to 1,000 people. Out of nothing, we went to the last game of the season in the first year with 4 amateur players. Mark O'Sullivan, who was unheard, the Joshua Shea, Rob Lee Hans, Michael McSweeney, amateur players. So the whole thing, from that point of view. So in 5 years, last 5 years, the club have been 5 times in Europe. They've finished not outside the top 2, 4 cup finals, selling 4 or 5 players in that period. Crowds have been averaging 4,500 to 5,000. So consistency is what is there. And win or lose Sunday, like the thing has been still very, very consistent. But obviously you want to win, and that's where it's at. But from our own point of view, it would be phenomenal if we could do that again. But it's still been, the consistency in the 5 years has been incredible. And I suppose while on the outside people may get fed up of there's Dundalk and Cork, that's just the standard that's there at the moment, and it's up for other clubs to break into that, and that's the way it's been.
Just the last one for me, John, the team that played Friday night, would that be close to start the team? Are there a few positions up for grabs? Like outside Carroll's injury maybe?
You should have been on the train this morning, Trevor. There's a lot of fellows who were in for contention on
it's a big squad, a strong squad.
Well, we have a very good squad, and we have very good lads, and that's what you need, competition for place. And ultimately, when you have a strong 17 or 18, that's that's why you can compete and challenge near the top. So at the end of the day, there's a few knocks. We just have monitored a few situations. So at the end of the day, probably I know Dundalk's team, and they probably have a fair idea of my team, and you'd expect it at this stage of the season.
John, it looks like Dundalk may have concerns about Patrick Hogan for Sunday. If he's absent, does that reduce the size of the challenge you face?
Well, put it this way, I'll give €100 to Mary Mount if he's not playing. And will you match it if like I'm saying he will play, you're saying he won't? Will we do that?
I'm not saying he won't.
No question he'll be missing Sunday. Not a chance.